Getting visuals of French President Emmanuel Macron, who's just arrived in the national capital. Live visuals coming in as he's landed in the national capital. There you see Emmanuel Macron. You'd have one of the union ministers, of course, receiving him at the airport. And he would be, I believe, headed straight to the Bharat Mandapam for the G20 Summit Day 1. You can see shots of Emmanuel Macron there and the dignitaries who are visiting along with that entire delegation. They are well received here in the national capital, and from here on he heads to the Bharat Mandapam for the G20 Summit. This also becomes a very crucial and an important visit by France in India. Yes, Arunama, the point that you were making. Please go ahead.
So I was just telling you that, Rishi Sunak, he's referred often as son-in-law of India. Akshara Murthy, we all know, comes from a very illustrious background. He has spent time in Delhi, he has spent time in Bengaluru. He knows the sentiments perhaps here, and he's flaunting his credentials. He calls himself a proud Hindu. In that backdrop, he has touched the right chords when he was asked about Khalistani separatism. Things between India and United Kingdom really hit a low spot when the Indian High Commission building was defaced, the window pane shattered, post which we saw that outside the United Kingdom High Commissioner's residence, security barricades were removed, and it looked like the situation was very tense. From there on till now, some ground has been recovered. National Investigation Agency has managed to go to London, speak to the local authorities there, gather some evidence and come back. And now for Sunak to say that, this is what we feel about the Khalistani separatists, not really antagonizing India in any way. So he's ticked all the right boxes. And if you see even the opposition, Abhishek Manu Singhvi in fact tweeted out to say that what Sunak has said must be played out to Justin Trudeau as well. Because these are two countries where Khalistanis have been really on the upsurge, and Justin Trudeau's government's reaction to the Khalistani supporters there in Canada has been criticized. So today when Sunak makes all the right noises, that comparison is being drawn. Of course, there is problem in Australia as well, there's a problem in Germany, there is problem in other parts of Europe as well. But if majorly Canada and United Kingdom cooperate with India and take into account India's concerns about how Khalistani separatists, India alleges they are backed by ISI, how they are being given a platform, if that concern is taken care of by UK and then subsequently by Canada, India will have a huge appreciation for that kind of an effort if it comes through.
Right, Arunama, thank you so much for that. Abhishek, coming to you, we were talking about the free trade agreement, and of course, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has in fact underlined how important this is to, fall through so that the entire deepening of relationship between India and UK really happens. And that's why it becomes really important. We do know how this conversation has been in the works since January 2021. Do we see that closing of deal, this G20 summit?
We see closing of the deal in the near future, but not exactly now, because it has been talked that most of the elements of the deal which were controversial, which were not being comfortable, the two sides were not comfortable, they are being reached upon to an agreement. And now if all goes well, then in a couple of months from now, it could be a possibility that the Prime Minister of UK would travel back to India again, and he himself will be able to sign the deal with Prime Minister Modi. That will be an spectacle that both sides have been wanting, because ever since the Brexit, UK has been wanting to strike this deal with India. That would be one of the first, and that would also give him some sort of political leverage in his domestic politics, where it is being said that his party is not going to do well if the elections are going to be held next year. The same is also for India, because India is also trying to emerge as a major economic powerhouse and major trade partner for UK as well. So in that context, if the trade deal happens, if the free movement of goods and services starts happening between the two sides, it will benefit both the countries. The deal is clearly struck between some of the commodities like wine and whiskey that you mentioned, and also some of the service sector like law, where India is not very keen to allowing US lawyers practice in India, and something like that. And mobility is another issue where UK is trying to restrict number of young professionals that it would allow to work in UK, and recently we had seen some temporary arrangement happening between the two sides, where the two sides agreed that about 3,000 young professionals would be allowed to work in each other's country on a yearly basis. More visa is something that India is wanting to have, because about 2 million people of Indian origin live in UK. About 1.6 million of them have been British nationals now, but still about 4 lakh to 5 lakh in NRIs are also living in UK. So there is a clearly huge presence of Indian diaspora, which becomes a very influential part of socio-political and economic aspect of UK society. So keeping in that mind, UK Prime Minister's this visit and his bilateral talk with Prime Minister Modi holds a lot of significance.
Right. Thank you so